Do you have a certain goal or dream that you want to finish in a while now? Let's say the goal is writing your dream novel, a goal that's fueled your imagination for what feels like forever. Then, finally, the opportunity arrives on a silver platter. But as your fingers hover over the keyboard of your computer, a surprising lack of motivation settles in you. It is not because you lack passion or ideas, but rather, it's the weight of commitment that suddenly feels daunting to you. Your initial excitement to finish your dream novel gets overshadowed by the sheer enormity of the task, of finishing all the chapters. The dream is there, the passion is alive, yet the journey ahead appears like an intimidating one for you. It's that moment where the desire is burning, but the way to it seems overwhelming, eventually creating a temporary roadblock for you. Ever wonder why motivation seems to vanish when you're all pumped up for something? Like the dream scenario we talked about earlier? It's like you've been wanting this forever, and now that it's here, poof, motivation decides to play hide and seek. If you're finding yourself in a motivation slump right now, no worries, and stick around for the entire video, because we're gonna give you insights to regain your motivation. And before we go into the good stuff, help us grow by hitting that subscribe button. Now, on to the rest of the video. Let's kick things off by getting a handle on what motivation means. It is the driving force that makes individuals initiate, sustain, and accomplish their goals. Renowned psychologist Abraham Maslow once described it as the process of satisfying certain needs through behaviors. But in simpler terms, motivation is the spark that pushes us to take action and guides our efforts toward the fulfillment of our objectives. Now that we've learned the essence of motivation, let's try to understand the art of keeping it. But before we jump into that, it's also important to grasp the roots of motivation, because it's something that maintains and nurtures that driving force in our lives. Now, the source of motivation typically fall into two broad categories, which we will label as intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. These two categories capture the essence of what drives us, be it from within ourselves or influenced by external factors. If you ever had that moment when you're doing something, not for any reward or external push, but simply because it feels right, that is what intrinsic motivation is at its finest. It is doing a task because it's meaningful, interesting, or downright satisfying for you. It is the kind of motivation that bubbles up from within, that makes you happily immerse yourself in an activity just because it resonates with you. So, if you've ever found joy in the process rather than the outcome, you have intrinsic motivation. Now, let's talk about the other category, the extrinsic motivation. Have you tried doing a task because there's a shiny reward waiting at the finish line? That's extrinsic motivation for you. It is the promise of praise, power, or perhaps a little extra cash that pushes you to finish a task. But here's the thing. It's all about the carrot on a stick concept. You know you will only get that reward, but it might take a little time. One example is bonuses after a few months. Extrinsic motivation is actually very appealing, no doubt. You work for something, get the prize, and feel good. But here's the kicker about it. That good feeling is often short-lived. It's like the burst of joy you get from winning a game, and then it's gone. Simple as that. It's a quick fix of motivation that fades fast, so while it has its perks, don't expect much that it will stick around for the long haul. Ready for a reality check on the flashy side of motivation? Let's break it down. So we can easily picture these categories further. Let's have a real-life comparison of the two. Imagine you've got this task at work, say completing a project report. Now, if you're doing it solely because you've been promised a fat bonus at the end of the month, which is extrinsic motivation, you're just aiming for that cash prize. You're driven by the external reward, but once you get the bonus, the satisfaction of doing that project report may be short-lived. Now, imagine working on the same project report, not for the bonus, but because you genuinely find the subject fascinating and enjoy the challenge, which is intrinsic motivation. And because you love the subject, the joy comes from the task itself, making the satisfaction more enduring and the whole process a lot more fulfilling. Through this scenario, we can see that having a high level of intrinsic motivation, whether in school, work, or any facet of life, can work wonders in the long run because you're enjoying the start to finish process of it. But I'm not saying that the two categories can't work together actually. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation aren't exclusive. They can team up. Consider studying. If you enjoy a topic, that's intrinsic motivation, driven by the love of learning. At the same time, extrinsic motivation may come into play as you aim for good grades as well. So, in this, both motivations can happily coexist, offering the best of both worlds, enjoying the process and aiming for top-notch results. Having multiple motivations can be good actually, especially when tackling something you're not too interested in, but need to get done. That way, you have a variety of reasons that can push you to cross the finish line. So, when you find yourself facing a task that doesn't exactly spark your interest, having a mix of motivations can be the key to getting it done. Yet, a word of caution. Juggling multiple motivations at the same time comes with a catch: the over-justification effect. This occurs when external rewards like grades or praise overshadow your intrinsic motivation, which can potentially diminish your initial enjoyment and interest in the task. So while having various motivations can be a powerful tool, it's important to strike a balance and ensure that the intrinsic motivation of the task doesn't get overshadowed by external incentives. Motivation can be a bit elusive, especially when life gets tough. That's true. It all boils down to understanding the what and why behind what you're doing. Whether you're aiming to feel great about yourself or striving to gain something tangible, both motivations are valid and can reignite your drive when you feel lost and demotivated. It is about finding the spot that aligns with your personal goals and will keep you going. So, whether it is for personal fulfillment or a dream reward, use these motivations to start that task or goal at hand. So, if you're feeling motivation is nowhere to be found, remember to understand your why, and no matter the hurdles, you got this. How do you keep your motivation when you're faced with a task? Share your secrets in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, give this channel some support by hitting the notification bell so you'll always get notified on our next one. Until next time.